Last day of campaigning, isn't it, Dipti? We talked about this in the news for Thursday's Spanish regional election in Catalonia.
That's right, last day of campaigning in Catalonia, because tomorrow, of course, there's a media ban and a campaign ban ahead of the vote on Thursday. Yesterday, the last electoral debate took place. And for the Spanish paper El Mundo, if that debate served any purpose, it was to show that there is no candidate and no party, really, that wishes to see the separatist leader Carles Puigdemont come back as president. Both the leaders of the Popular Party and the pro-independence leftist party took great pains to distance themselves from Puigdemont during the debate and evaded all questions about him. The pro-independence Catalan paper, Ara, on the other hand, reminds us that this is not a normal electoral campaign. And the paper says the candidates who think this is a normal election must be, quote, conscious of the fact that their rivals are unfairly locked up in prison or in exile.
South Africa now, another story that's been in the news. Pretty much all the papers looking at the new leader of the ruling ANC party. This is Cyril Ramaphosa.
That's right. He won the race, so to speak. That's really the image we're seeing in a lot of the South African papers. He left his rival, Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, really in the dust, as you see from a cartoon from the South African paper, The Star. There's also much elation from the Sowetan, which is the local paper of Soweto, where Ramaphosa grew up. It's Cyril, they say emphatically on the front page, but the editors warn that a tall order awaits him, including restoring party credibility and uniting the country with an emphasis on, quote, merit, competence and ethical conduct. But there is also a lot of skepticism, as you see from the front page of the Afrikaans language paper Beeld, which says Cyril wins, but 3 points.
The scepticism pretty prevalent, you found, haven't you, across the opinion pages in the South African papers?
Well, a lot of the papers say, okay, the ANC does have a new leader in Ramaphosa, but it's not the end of Jacob Zuma, and he could definitely come back. One paper's even likened him to a cat with 9 lives. He just seems to keep coming back despite whatever scandals engulf him. For the Times, South Africa is on the political precipice. That's really the tone of this article. Ramaphosa, of course, takes over a party that's extremely divided, and Jacob Zuma is still president for the moment, and he will continue to use his executive power to, quote, erect defenses against all future prosecution. I quote, South Africa is approaching rough waters, and a Jacob Zuma facing an inglorious and humiliating end is a Jacob Zuma at his most dangerous.
Political uncertainty there in South Africa then. Landmark decision, though, in neighbouring Botswana. Now, this is about transgender rights. Tell us more.
Well, the High Court in Botswana has recognized the gender of a trans woman in what was the first decision on the issue. The person in question was born male, but will be issued a new ID card by the end of the year, recognizing her as a woman after what was a 4-year legal battle. Now, Botswana has continuously rejected demands in the past for greater rights for LGBT people, and gay people also face a lot of prejudice and have a lack of access to many services. Well, the person tells The Independent in this interview that it's a victory for every trans-diverse person in Botswana. She's also advocating now better access to things like healthcare, not just in Botswana, but across southern Africa.
Let's talk about something that we haven't discussed on the programme for a little while now. K-pop, South Korean pop music. It's a sad story, this, though. K-pop fans mourning the death of one of its most high-profile pop stars.
That's right. He was the frontman of the boy band SHINee. His name is Kim Jong-Hyun. He was found unconscious in his apartment and later died in what investigators believe may have been a suicide. And sadly, at the age of 27, he joins the sad club of pop stars who've left us at 27, like Amy Winehouse and Jimi Hendrix. The Korea Herald pays tribute to this, quote, prolific artist with his powerful voice and his dancing ability. And interestingly, on his Instagram account, just before he died, he had cryptically posted lyrics to a song evoking things like signs of exhaustion. So many people are kind of making the correlation there. Now, The Guardian really puts into perspective for its Western audience, because K-pop to the West may seem very cheesy with its colorful aesthetics and funky, upbeat sort of melodies. Well, Jong-Hyun's death, The Guardian says, also sheds light on the draconian contracts and competitive environment in which these pop stars work, and the ruthlessness of an industry that churns these pop stars out really for their fans to idolize and essentially make a lot of money on.
And finally from Dipti, a cheese festival in London. It's been panned for its poor organisation.
Well, when I first read this, I was thinking, how on earth can you poorly organize a cheese festival?
Exactly, it's not that difficult.
It's not that well. Apparently, if you read this article from Vice, it is. It was called the Giant Cheese Board, and the idea was that at $50 a pop, you get all-you-can-eat cheese and wine. Well, sadly, it ended up as little more than a Twitter punchline, and has been compared to the doomed Fire Festival due to huge queues, poor organization, and rainy weather. Obviously, didn't help. I quote, "The Garden of Edam was essentially one mega line for tepid mulled wine and cider that may as well have been actual urine."
Nice.
There are some pictures to back this up. For instance, there was a zone-marked covered seating area that was nothing more than a dirty tent. And as you see in these pictures, just a couple of cubes of cheese on a plastic plate near the dumpsters. Not my idea of a cheese festival.
No, I bet they made a hard profit. I mean, trying to think of more puns myself. I can't think of anything other than hard cheese.
Garden of Edam is not bad.
Garden of Edam is very, very good. Gorgonzola, I just couldn't fit it in, I'm afraid. Thanks a lot. It's with the papers on France 24.